All right, hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Team Next Level Quad Pod. I'm Coach Greg, joined by Marilyn, Rich, and James. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm dead.
What?
Is that your Tadej Pogacar?
Oh,
Yes, little tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
He
wrapped
had
up.
something else before that, no? He
He did have
Yeah.
something
didn't
else.
I don't
exactly
know.
just say I'm
I don't know if I could say
Yeah.
it. I mean, we try to keep some boundaries.
done. Are
Yeah.
you comparing yourself to Pogacar?
No, but I think he's like our spirit animal. Everyone.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think everyone. I was reading some articles that the French aren't really connecting to Jonas Vingegaard
Uh-huh.
because he just seems very, I guess, reserved and
hmm
not a lot of passion or whatever. But
Yeah.
like Tadej Pogacar, like everyone is like,
Yeah, he's a fun
He's just
guy.
a nice
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's like.
Vingegaard
guy.
was like, they did a couple of things on him where he was like working in a fish factory.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Before he
Mhm.
became a pro.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then like all of a sudden, he's a pro.
I read something, and I don't know how true it is, that he has a VO2 max of 97, which is...
Is
Like,
100 like the
Jesus.
highest possible?
I don't know if you can go over 100, but I've never heard anything
That's
as
close
high
to-
as 97.
Oh my
Close to
gosh.
what mine is, you know.
Yeah.
But I saw a video where
In
he
my
was being handed a
dreams.
pizza. Sadly, it was like a Domino's pizza. I mean, that's like the best you can get wherever he was. But he must have been so happy
Yeah.
to be able to eat a pizza now.
Right.
Yeah,
Like-
probably.
Probably eat that whole thing.
Yeah, there's not much to him. He's lungs and
They're-
legs.
Lungs
They're
and
all
legs,
so
right?
tiny. Well,
Yeah.
not all of them, but
Yeah,
But even the big guys,
even the big guys are not that
are
big.
tiny, yeah.
but still
exactly,
tiny compared
yeah.
to a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Obviously, Tour de France wrapped up a couple days ago, yesterday.
Mhm.
I thought it was an exciting tour. I don't know how much you guys followed it. I watched at least the highlights every day and more of the big stages.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting ones I can remember.
Yeah.
So.
Especially like, I don't know, till what, stage 16, 17, something like that?
Yeah. Up until those last two stages of like the end of last week was
Yeah.
when Vingegaard kind of rode away with it, which still was impressive as hell to see.
I think I'm going to recommend, because Greg told us about it, the Tour de France documentary on Netflix,
Yeah,
Unchained, was
so
it called?
good. Unchained.
Yeah,
Mhm.
really
Like
good.
it sucks, even if you don't like cycling, it sucks you in. Like I
Mhm.
told my neighbor about it, and then his kids and his wife were watching. Like they were just like getting into the storyline. It was just very
Yeah.
well produced. And I was thinking about, like, I think this year's is going to have some pretty cool storylines, especially with Mark Cavendish, because that was just so disappointing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The way he had to just tap out, and it's like, oh, and then Fabio Jacobsen. I was like, oh, that was the guy. Like I just really wanted him to
Yeah.
excel, and so it was just like it's going to be some good stories.
I'd
Yeah.
never watched before, and it's so
Yeah.
interesting the way the teams are structured, and
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it, and I'm sure this season coming up will be even better. They'll
That-
learn.
I can't help myself. Like from watching the season one, you get kind of attached to the jumbo team,
Yeah.
Right.
but then when I watch them, I'm like, oh, these guys are like, you know, I don't want to offend Yankee fans, but like the Yankees, or like they're the empire.
Superstars.
They're just
Yeah.
like,
Which is interesting. They don't have the biggest budget in cycling.
but it just feels
But
like
they have
they're
the
just
most
like,
airtime.
It does feel like that.
Even on the tour, like the highlights, it's
Yeah, I mean, they spent a
Yeah.
lot of time riding on the front. Like
Yeah.
they rode
I mean, I
tempo
guess
for
that's
most
why.
of it. So
yeah.
it's like I found myself like rooting for them, but also rooting against
Yeah,
them. Like I was
right.
like wanting to see if there's going to be like an upset or something. So
Yeah.
it was a weird feeling watching.
yeah, I
watching
think
it.
we didn't see a lot of the Pogacar side of things in this past season because their team didn't sign on with Netflix to be covered. So the teams had the option of having cameras in there 24/7 basically, and they weren't one of the teams. So all the teams that you saw, like that the episodes were focused on, were teams that signed up with them.
Hmm.
I don't know if new teams signed up for this season or not, but
Oh, it's exciting to see.
yeah.
What a
Mhm.
comeback for Jasper Philipsen. Is that his name?
yeah, the guy.
Jasper the Disaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Jasper the Disaster to sprint
I
winner.
mean, he cleared
What,
everything
5
except the
stages?
did he get
Yeah,
5 or 4?
Almost won.
Almost won the
sixth.
last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By hair.
It was unbelievably close.
But yeah, going from that low of celebrating like he thought he won a stage last year
Yeah.
to
I
that
mean,
embarrassment, and then
not to get into like the details of it and stuff, but like his lead out man, Matthew Van Der Poel rode like inside out for that guy just to get him to the front in every sprint. Like that was the wheel. Like he had the perfect wheel going into every single sprint. Which makes it so much easier. You're not fighting for position. Everybody else was fighting for Philipsen's wheel. He didn't have to. He had his guy who could lead out the best of them. You know, he's doing probably 37 miles an hour before the sprint, and then just leaving him at 200 meters to go, and makes it much easier to do it that way.
That's so cool. And then my feed kept coming up. Do you want to look at the time trial numbers? For
The answer is no.
And I was like, no.
I don't need to
kind of want to, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't want to be demoralized.
Right.
Yeah. And then it started on Sunday, right? Was
Women's.
the women's tour, which I really got sucked into last year. They race so aggressively. Their stages are a lot shorter, and so there's just so much more action from beginning to end. And man, they race hard. And so I've been watching that the last 2 days.
Now, has that race been going for the last 3 years, or it's been going on for as long as the
No. Last
No.
year was the first year they did
Yeah.
it.
last 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
First
Going-
year it came back, right?
I think they had something way
Years
back
ago.
when,
Yeah,
in
I
like
feel
the
like
late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s or something.
Was there?
But this has been kind of a big push to get it. And I think they said their numbers, I'm going to totally butcher the actual numbers, but they said,
We'll fix it in post.
yeah, that last year's tour coverage for the women boosted women's cycling to like the number 6 most watched women's sport in the
Wow,
world.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it brought it
Yeah.
way up there, got them all the exposure that they've been looking for. And so it's really exciting to watch. It's only 8 days, but this year they're going to finish with 2 phenomenal stages. They're going to finish on the top of the Tourmalet, which is like one of the iconic climbs of the Tour de France. And then they have a time trial on the last day. So I don't think you're going to know who wins until
The time
Probably
Till
trial.
the end.
the
Wow.
end. Yeah. So they're setting it up for a
Has
good
there
finish.
ever been a male time trial finish?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
don't
the
think
one
I've ever
I can
seen it.
remember is 1989. Greg LeMond beats Laurent Fignon by, I forget what he beats him in the time trial by, but he beats him enough to win the tour by 8 seconds on the
Oof.
last
Oh my
day in
God.
Paris on a time
Oof.
trial. That's the dawn of aero bars. He was the only one to ride aero bars in that time trial,
Yeah.
and he wins the tour by 8 seconds.
Wow.
I know I don't remember that because I wasn't watching it in '89.
Wow.
I
Yeah, me
wasn't
neither.
either, but it's like a famous.
Now,
That's cool.
Did anyone else get triggered by watching the fans who are just so in the way?
Oh my God, they're so annoying. Why don't they have barricades?
Well,
They
it's too much
do.
road, right?
It's too
just-
much road.
they
It's
do where they
120
can.
miles
True.
of road to barricade. It's
Yeah, true.
impossible.
But did you see? I think it was stage 20. There was
Yeah,
a guy who was
yeah.
like literally in the middle
Taking
with his
a picture.
camera,
Yeah.
and they had to like
Yeah.
split around
Yeah.
him. They got so angry. I was like,
Yeah.
It's
They're
unbelievable.
just like drunk and dumb, right?
Well, I think drunk is a big part of it, but I think the bigger part is now with cell phones, people are trying to get selfies of themselves,
yeah,
and so they're not paying attention to what's coming up behind them. And
Yeah.
But
the
they start
speed-
encroaching on the road till they
Right.
have like this tiny, and then there's the motos also.
Yeah,
The one of the stages, I forgot which
Big
one,
crash.
right? No, the
Oh, where Pogacar
tried to
Oh.
sprint
attack.
away
Yeah.
and
Oh,
yeah,
attack,
and he
and then
couldn't.
he got hit a moto, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And he's just like, I'm back off.
yeah, the moto was too close because he couldn't get up because of the fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
it was
Yeah.
tight.
And they don't pay attention. Like they will watch a few, let's say the lead pack or whatever, go by, and they don't understand there's like 100 other riders coming by, and
Yeah.
they're like, "What's going on? Oh, I'm caught."
But there was that big crash. I forget which stage where they caught it.
There's
Like
a
a
few of
person
them.
had his hand out with the camera, and then it hit a biker, took him down, and it took across like what that
'Cause
propagated
they're
across the
also
whole peloton.
they're all so close. So
Yeah.
one person.
so you
falls.
watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, you guys
Yeah.
are so annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. So I heard a lot of stuff on coverage where they were saying to like just a general, listen, fans, stop taking selfies, pay attention to the race, like you don't turn your back to the cyclists
Yeah.
and pay attention to what you're doing because it's you end somebody's year, somebody's career, potentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
One of the big things I keep hearing year after year is they say that you want to be in the front of the peloton
Yeah,
or
not in
like
the
in the
back.
breakaway because
Yeah.
like especially in the first few days because that's when most of the crashes are like big number crashes and
Yeah.
huge, at least statistically, and so usually like they want the team to be leading out in front so they don't get caught in the mess.
The women's, there were already a couple. Big.
oh my gosh, I saw
Yeah.
some today that just
Yeah.
it was rainy and so
Mhm.
they hit some of the white patches on the road and just
Yeah.
took out 2, 3, 5 people at a time. It's crazy.
Mhm.
But I think it's kind of they've always had crashes and stuff, but you don't want to see the fans or the outside influences
Be the
cause.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was an exciting tour. I always get excited for this time of year. I love the tour. It's just something. It's such a spectacle, you know.
It is, and it's like 21 stages. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keeps going.
I highly recommend watching that Netflix documentary first, and then
Right, because
it'll
that
just
gets
suck
you
in.
into it. Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones. You have to know the characters and
Right.
all the.
And they did a good job of that, right? Like
Yeah.
introducing
Yeah.
the characters so you knew who they were
Yeah.
when you watched them in the race this year. All right, so on to triathlon. We have our PV Tri coming up in about a month, and we thought we'd take the time to go over kind of how to train and race a sprint triathlon. Just because our natural tendency is to gravitate towards half distance races and stuff. I think we talk about that a lot, and I think the training for a sprint is decently different, and just from a mindset of completing a sprint versus 70.3 is very different. So we're gonna, I don't want to say take a step back, because I think sprints are a lot of fun and a good opportunity to get into racing and a good opportunity to race frequently, and kind of there's a low barrier for entry. So we're gonna figure we talk about how to train for it and stuff like that. So Rich, why don't you give us a quick synopsis of what a sprint triathlon is? We throw that term around a lot, and
Yeah.
so
I
let's
mean,
define it.
there are some small variations, but usually you're going to do a swim, bike, run, about a 750 meter swim. Sometimes it's like, I've seen the ones that usually 800 or a lot of times 800 meters, but like 750 is about the number. It's a 20K bike. So anywhere, I've seen 10 miles also in there. It's what ours is going to be, the PV Tri. And then typically a 5K run. So a 3.1 mile run. And usually takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It's a doable distance that you can train up for and do, and everybody can kind of go from walking to riding a bike and a little bit of swimming to doing the sprint tri.
Yeah. I think every one of the distances that's involved, and like Rich said, they can vary a little bit within that range. Every one of the distances is something that the average person can wrap their head around doing, or see a way to get themselves to being able to complete that distance. Where when you start talking about the longer stuff, like you have people just say like, how could you even do one of those things, let alone all three of them? So, it's doable for everybody who's, in a healthy position in life, I think, to complete a sprint triathlon. All right. So where do we want to go from here? James, what do you think?
I'm not thinking at all.
That's good.
Just enjoying your old fashioned.
Caught me off guard. So I guess it's really how do you train differently for a sprint? How do you approach that?
Maybe we just think about like how in general to train for a sprint, like as opposed to differently. Let's just go through like what your training should probably look like, maybe.
Also, you've decided to do a sprint, right? So
Right.
like you're going to don't want to pick one next weekend, right? But like you're going to need some time to get yourself ready for a sprint. So what's a good
how
amount
far
of time?
ahead?
I
Is a month good enough? 2 months?
I think you can do it depending on where you are. Like if you already know how to swim, like if you don't know how to swim, like you're going to need more time. But let's just say you already know how to swim.
Or let me interrupt you for a second. Or pick a race like the PV Tri that has a pool swim,
Yes.
where you could literally walk across the pool if you need to.
Yeah,
like
if
you
you
can always
have
put
to.
your
If you
feet
need to.
down.
Yep.
Do you have
But
to
let's
be,
assume that if you're going to do this, you know how to swim.
You know how to swim.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good.
Let's say you're not like a
Yeah.
competitive swimmer, but you know
right,
how
but you
to.
know how to swim.
you've
Right.
gotten across the pool and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's a good
So
spot.
you know how to swim. Maybe you run a couple 5Ks or something, and you still remember how to ride a bike.
Or
right?
just an occasional runner. Just
Yeah.
go out there and run.
I think 4 weeks is possible.
I think so too.
It's not impossible. Like if you did absolutely nothing before, 4 weeks is going to be tough.
Right.
Right.
I would
but
say
if you were
couch to sprint triathlon in 4 weeks is probably not
Maybe
the
like
smartest.
8 weeks to 12 weeks might be better
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I think at 12 you could pretty much couch to sprint in 12 weeks.
Yeah, and you can pick how you want to finish. So if you want to like do really well, or if you're going to just finish. So that's also going to depend on how long you need to train for
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So some of my research I did for this, it's not as vast as usual.
Extensive
Just
deep dive. Did you double click?
Just regular research this time.
Okay.
I guess we're talking about energy systems. We're not going to emphasize endurance as much for this. It's more really going to be about speed and your threshold speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit about nutrition.
Well, as a beginner, I don't know. Speed is really involved.
So like I don't know if you're gonna you don't have the time to build this big base
Right.
of aerobic capacity.
You do need to build enough
do.
of a base
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
move and
Get through it.
get through the time that
Yes.
it's going to take
It's
you.
not going to be like 20 minutes. Just,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's going to be an hour plus, hour and a half.
I think hour and a half to 2 hours is
Yeah.
for a beginner is probably
Is
the
a
number
lot.
they should be
Yeah.
kind of focusing on, is that
Yeah.
hour and a half to 2 hours. You're going to be moving.
So I figure like, 15, 20 minute swim, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you can
Let's say 20 minutes
20
or more.
minutes.
let's say
because
20 minutes
Yeah.
swim.
I just
Yeah.
did like a 16 something, so I like to say I'm better than the beginner.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
and for a beginner, you
Well,
don't
I'm
have
just-
to have a time.
I'm just throwing a
cap on
general
it.
number,
Yeah,
right?
figure-
so let's say,
Figure 20 minutes.
yeah. So you're going to bike for 30
45
minutes,
minutes.
30
Mhm.
minutes to an
Mhm.
hour. Yeah. 45 minutes is good. And then you're going to do your run. So maybe 30 minutes to 50 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, I guess it depends how much you're running versus
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where we get kind of hour and a half to 2 hours
Yep.
is a nice round number.
solid.
If
Yeah.
your transitions are super fast because you watched our video, then you're going to cut that time.
Oh, that's gonna cut your like overall time by 50%.
At least 10 minutes.
At least.
Yeah, I think it adds 40 watts also.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, so you've got some time. You signed up for a race, right? Maybe 10 weeks out. And so where do you begin?
Well, let's keep talking about what James had kind of mentioned, like that it's more of a speed focused than an endurance focused. At a total race time of an hour and a half, it's still an endurance event, right?
Yep.
Like you're at no point really should you be going over threshold, right? Maybe if you're at the faster end of things, you might be working at threshold for all three events. Maybe.
Or the run, or at the end of the run.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the run, you're going to
Mhm.
sprint for the finish line, but like, that's not going to give you your time, right? That's
Mhm.
going to give you an hour 30 versus an hour 29:45.
Mhm.
Like, it's not going to make or break. It's still an endurance event. So your focus still should be endurance work. Your key sessions, your key workouts, the things you really focus on should be tailored more towards those short bursts of effort, close to and at thresholds, where if you're training for 70.3s and Ironmans, those might be closer to, a smaller percentage of your thresholds because you're doing them, you want to be working at race pace. So in a sprint, the race pace is faster, but it's still endurance.
Especially
So
for a beginner.
Yeah.
I've heard the description though of saying you're basically in a sprint, you're trying to go as fast as you can without throwing up. Now, is that for more of the advanced person then?
I hope so.
I'd
It
say
depends on
yes.
your goal. If your
But-
goal is to go as fast as you can without throwing up, then maybe that's what you do.
Then hear me out though. If you're a beginner, like that level of where you're going to throw up to is in like scale to where you're at also.
But a
Yeah.
beginner, I don't know if they're going to race that way.
Well, first
on their
we already
first sprint.
we talked about not throwing up in the pool,
Yeah.
or the swim part of it.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be a good thing. So maybe get through the swim, get through the bike, maybe throw up like last 100 meters of the run.
The run. I saw someone throwing up at NJ State.
Yeah.
Just leaned up on a tree. His hand was out like this, head down. It's like, "Ugh," and then someone's like, "Are you okay?" And then he popped up and he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then they walk away and then backhand back on the tree. He was, yeah, he
A
went
lovely
over.
story, James.
He
Thank
went
you.
over.
He went
the-
over that line.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing a sprint though, or was that a sprint? That
It was
a
a
sprint.
sprint.
It was a
Yeah, it was a
sprint,
sprint.
yeah.
Right.
It got shortened to a sprint, but I don't know if he was on his way. I think he was on his way back. If it was on his way out, then it was pretty early in the run. But I'm hoping it was for him. It was on the way back,
Ah.
and there's like
He didn't make it to the finish line.
But still,
Half a
yeah,
mile.
that didn't help his time.
no,
No.
not at
So
all.
I think we want to prevent the vomiting.
Yes.
Pretty sure that's not where you want to end up
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I mean, a sprint triathlon is going to be a painful event if you're trying to race to the fullest, whether that's fast or slow. If you're trying to push yourself to the limit, it's going to be a painful event. But it's still an aerobic event.
Yeah, if you're staying in zone 3, 4 for the entire time and your heart rate's high, you're pushing yourself towards the end, but you don't have to get to the
because if you go over
throw
that,
up
you're
level.
going to have to stop. Like you're going to have to pause, bring it back down to a more attainable pace, and overall, that's not going to be the fastest way to go.
Yeah.
So I think how do you train for it? Like, if this is your first race, it should just be and I've said this before, it should just be to finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to have a fun experience. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to, enjoy what the sport has to offer. But if you make it where you throw up on each leg of the race, you're not going to sign up again.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. So if this is your first race ever,
right?
Goals should be finished. Don't have any time goals, I guess. Just finish in one piece.
Yeah, have fun. I heard somebody last year at our PV Tri say they wanted to be the last out of the water, the last off the bike, and the last on the course for the run, and they wanted to have a good time. And I think they checked all those boxes and had a good time.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their different motivations and stuff. Now, if you're a seasoned athlete who's really going to try and perform, maybe get a good result in their age group or overall or something like that, then you're going to be in for you do have to bring it right up to that line of failure.
And your equipment at that point is going to matter too. So you can get away from you can do a sprint try with a bike that you have in the garage. But if you're going to try to podium and go all out for it, you're going to want to have the equipment of the aero wheels, the aero bike.
Yeah. All that stuff.
You want to, flying mount is going to be a big game changer for you. But if you're getting out there and just trying to do a sprint try, you should just focus on what the disciplines are and how to get through them in the most efficient time for yourself without throwing up.
And I think that's the beauty of the sprint, is that it could be whatever race you want it to be, depending on your skill level and goal.
And I think you see that when you go to sprints, like you see people who are out for their first event ever, and then you see people who are, highly seasoned athletes who are really trying to eke every second out of their potential. And I think more probably than any other race you go to, a sprint is going to have that, wide variety of people there.
Like, we'll encourage everybody to do the whole event themselves, but if you're thinking about not doing one of the portions, phone a friend and say, hey, can you swim while I bike and run, or do it as a relay? And it's also fun doing it that way.
Question: true or false? You can train just a specific race portion for sprint distance triathlon.
What does that question
Wait, what do you mean?
Can you word that differently?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
For sprint triathlon, do you need to train more than the distance for each leg? Or can you just train the distance specifically? So
I thought he was just asking if you could just run and not do the
I
other
thought so.
parts.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So the swim, let's say if it's 800-meter swim, your pool sessions can just be about 800 meters. If the bike is 10 or 12 miles, you just need to train up to that. And the 5K, you just train up to 5K.
Well, that goes back to what Greg was saying before.
True or
is
false?
I'm gonna
what
say
you're trying to finish.
Well,
if you're trying to just complete the race, you can just do the distances. That's what
yeah, exactly. But if you do a little more, it's better.
False.
False.
Yeah.
What was the true statement of that?
Yeah, I
the
don't
true
know.
is the true is
True is agreeing with what he said. That
What
you
was-
only have to.
That's all you have to do. Yeah.
But
Oh.
Greg says false.
well, he wants the podium.
Oh.
He's going to podium.
No.
You overtrain the bike.
No,
'Cause you
well, okay. So here's my thinking. Yes, you can. Okay.
do you want
I'm
to paddle?
I'm gonna pull a Rich.
Do you want
I'm
to
gonna
paddle?
say this,
Do you
but
want
what I
my
really
paddle?
mean is the other thing.
Do you want to backpedal that?
You need to be able to train for the time that the event's going to take you. So if you're going to do that, so let's say it's an hour. Let's call it an hour and a half. You need to be able to train for an hour and a half. How are you going to get that if you're only swimming 800 meters, biking 10 miles or 12 miles, and running a 5K?
You're going to swim
So
800 meters.
Are you
So
gonna
each-
are you
bike
gonna
12
do a
miles.
triathlon on those days? Once or twice. Like when I don't see how you're gonna get enough volume to be able to go the distance of the whole race if you're only training each component to its.
So you're saying that like on your swim workout day, it should be at least an hour.
No, I'm saying that
Whew.
like
I don't know.
I'm saying that
not
you need to
understanding.
get to a point where let's call it a big day for you is an hour and a half of training.
Like on the weekend.
Sure, on
You
the
have
weekend.
a long ride.
Right.
It's an
So
hour
can
and a
you
half.
go for a long ride that's an hour and a half? Great. Cool. You can train for an hour and a half. You can
Mhm.
exert yourself. So then that's going to get you more than 10 miles, right?
Right, on the bike. But
But-
that doesn't mean that your swim workout has to be an hour and a half.
No, I'm not
or an
saying that.
hour. Okay.
So I would say that you can build the aerobic base doing stuff. So, but you can swim, let's say you swim 800 and then you go for a 30-minute walk, right? You're building
Great.
your aerobic engine,
100%.
but you're not swimming more than 800.
Mhm.
You can bike 20K and then, I don't know, row for 10, 15 minutes. And okay, you're still building your aerobic engine.
Yes.
So you can't, I think you can do
I
those
guess you can
distances.
do it, but you need that. Like, then you're doing those other things that now, if you can't run enough, then yes, supplement it with other things, but you're going to get more out of doing the 3 sports that you're going to actually be racing with.
So you're going to get more out of, meaning you're going to do better
Yeah.
in that time.
You're going to
right?
do better.
But
You're
if
going to
your
have an easier
goal,
time in the race. You're going to enjoy it more, I think.
What would
Yeah.
you say? So they have to have an hour and a half of training every day?
No. I think your big days.
Okay.
Should
so they're
be-
your weekends.
Sure, your weekends or wherever it fits in your
Should be,
schedule.
right,
Your
whatever.
your big days
Should be.
an hour and a half or
Okay.
to 2 hours.
Or
yeah.
build
Okay.
up to that.
Yes, build
Right,
up, I'm sorry,
obviously,
build up
build
to
up
that.
to
You want to get to the point where you can handle that and it doesn't destroy you, and then you can recover
point,
from it and then
yes.
go into your
Yeah. So that's where I was taking the frame of mind of somebody who just wants to finish. They haven't done one and they just want to finish this race. Like, you want to build your aerobic engine, and you can do that, but you don't necessarily need to have it in your head that you need to do more than whatever these individual.
Yeah, I just think a person's going to be
segments
in
are.
for a shock on race day if they're like, well, I'm going to train. Let's make it simple. I'm going to train 2 swims, 2 bikes, 2 runs a week. And when I get in the pool to swim, I'm going to swim for 800 yards or 800 meters or whatever it is. And then when I bike, I'm going to go bike for 10 miles. And when I run, I'm going to run for 5K. And that's their workout that they build up to. If that's a week, 2 swims of 800, 2 bikes of 20K, 2 runs of 5K, I think race day is going to be very difficult for them. Because realistically, what's the longest time they've ever exercised for up to that point?
30 minutes.
Right, 30 maybe call it if they're
An hour maybe on the bike.
maybe on the bike. So I think they're gonna have a hard time. That's
So
all.
can you do this since the swim is going to be like a shorter portion and you're going to you want to build up to that hour and a half? Could you just work up to a brick of a bike
Yeah.
and 5K?
And that's exactly what I think you should do. I think you should build, bricks. Go swim at the pool, do your 800 meters or 1,000 meters or whatever you're doing, and then go for a jog. And so that day now becomes an hour. And then on your long day, maybe you can stack a swim and a bike together, and now you're an hour and a half, or a bike and a run, whatever. You get up to that point where you've moved for that period of time. Your body knows what to expect for that period of time.
Yeah.
And-
You understand, like, if it's hot and you've biked and you ran, did that brick, your body's adapting to
So
that
yeah,
hour
you
and
can
a half of
stack.
work in the heat.
Absolutely, you can stack things. Do a mini triathlon. Do a half of your distance at a nice, easy pace, and it'll probably take you close to that hour and a half. Like, that's fine. But just you do need to train for the time component also.
The reason I asked this question because I was trying to compare the difference between training for a sprint and something, let's say, longer. And I thought the general consensus, like on a 70.3, is you go beyond the distance of the race. You train beyond them.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the person and, again, where they're at in their kind of journey. A lot of people, it's just, I need to do a 56-mile or a 60-mile bike ride.
Or maybe it's more applicable to an Olympic, let's say.
Yeah.
Like you train beyond that distance.
Right.
Even the shorter distance, though, if you run 4 or 5 miles, then when you run 3, you're like, oh, that was,
Right, that was
short.
nice.
That
That
was
was only
nice. It
3.
was short. Yeah. So it does feel better if you're able to cover more.
Your
Oh, yeah.
aerobic capacity needs to increase.
Mhm.
And so you increase that by extending the duration of your event.
Yeah, that's it. And so that's all I was, I wasn't like disagreeing with you guys really.
That was our first fight on the show.
No.
Yeah. So,
You look sad about it.
yeah.
That's a milestone.
Yeah.
Like we have to have, fights and then make up and then you grow in a relationship that
Right.
way.
We've had them before.
We have had them.
Yeah.
I don't remember our last
Not
one.
on the show.
Oh,
Mm.
we've had them on the show too. No,
I don't remember.
I think there was one about
There was one.
strength training.
Oh,
Yeah,
strength training.
yeah, there was.
Yeah.
All right. But then, so sprint in general, though, is
Yeah.
going to require less time per week
Yeah.
than an Olympic
Mhm.
or half or full, obviously. So it's not going to be overwhelming.
The idea is the amount of time you train is proportional or directly correlated to the amount of time. That's why I threw those times out in the beginning, because like that's one of the things that you should in your head put in. So okay, it's going to take me at whatever pace, the slowest. This is how
So I
long
have
I'm
a
going to swim.
question though about that. So someone who's just starting out, never done this before, how do they know?
They can look up at average, like, so if you've never done an event and you look at this race that you guys did, you go look at the times.
Don't look at that one.
Right, you don't look at that one. But if you wanted to know and you're like, oh, these hills look real, and you go look at the times for the last 3 years, you're like, okay, the average, or you could look at your age group, whatever it is, right? You
Right.
could say like, this is the fastest, this is the
Okay.
slowest.
Okay. Good idea.
And then you could kind of see that event took that long, because it does also depend on where the event is, right? Because you guys were talking about a previous episode where Greg and Marilyn did an event which had tremendous heat and tremendous hills. Like that's also a particular thing. I always have said you train for the event. So if you're going to have RPV try, you should know what your elevation is. You kind of know that it's a pool swim, right? And so you train for that. You take a look at the time that it may have taken for a similar type of race.
So I think we should rework this outline. So why don't we talk about building that training plan, how it should look, assuming you have X amount of weeks, how many sessions, how many total hours, how you should build it up.
I feel like that's, and I'm sure there's one formula, but I feel like that's so individual, because somebody may have, I'm
Just
going to
say
make
the
this
average
up.
person.
Yeah, somebody may have 3 days a week to train, and another average person may have 5 or 6 days a week to train, right? So
I think
like,
if you're
how do
just
you-
starting out, you've never done a sprint, you should try and have at least 5 days.
5
Yeah.
days.
At least.
Yep.
If you want to be like somewhat, if you want to enjoy the day.
So let's say if week 1, if you have 5 days, how do we want to break up those 5 days?
How many
1.
weeks? How many weeks out are we?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's do 8 weeks.
And
Let's
then
make it
kind of
simple.
There's a
2
lot of
months.
questions though.
2
We have to
months.
make
2
up like a
cycles.
pretend athlete, because has this person ever run before?
There's average.
Right.
Average.
Well,
Bell curve.
let's build one, right? So let's make up the constraints, right? So let's give ourselves 8 weeks.
Okay.
8
Okay.
weeks.
8 weeks, right? We're going to have someone, they're committing to how many hours a week? So you said 5 days, right? So Marilyn, how many hours a week?
So long, I don't know, 6 or 7? 7?
7 hours. Okay. So we've got 8 weeks, 7 hours.
But we're not going to do 7 right off the bat in week 1.
And
No.
they're
We're going to build up to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they're kind of, let's say, I'm going to go with okay-ish in every
In everything.
discipline.
Let's say like a
right?
30-minute
So
5K.
So they've run 5Ks before.
they've run a 5K. They've been on a bike before, but they haven't
Let's
done
say
any
like,
races.
they have just average FTP, like 400 watts, something
They
like
don't
that.
know their FTP.
Yeah, there's no FTP. And
No
they're
FTP.
swimming in a pool for fun.
They
kind
don't
of,
really
yeah.
swim.
Yeah, they don't really
They
swim, but
swim,
they
but
know,
they know
how to
swim.
do freestyle.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right? So we've got 8 weeks. What else do we need? And who's got questions? I've got answers.
Oh, you have a lot of them today.
Yeah.
Oh, questions or answers?
What if we say that this person does Peloton? Like the Peloton workout.
Okay.
With which instructor?
Let's go.
I'm just
Oh my
kidding. It
God.
doesn't
I don't know
matter.
any of these
Matt,
people.
Yeah, me
It
neither.
doesn't
I've seen
matter.
one of them,
Let's go,
one or two of them pop up on my Instagram.
We
like
we
reels.
were at Muscle Man with Matt Wilpers.
Yeah, so let's
who's
go
a
Matt
Peloton
Oh,
Wilpers.
he's a
instructor.
popular one. Everybody
Yeah.
loves him.
He's got his own tri group.
Oh.
Come to our PV Tri, Matt. Bring your group.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's where I'd start, and like we're talking in big generalities here.
Yeah.
If we're gonna say 8 weeks, I'm gonna say I'd like the person to build up to, within 4 weeks. So over the course of the first 4 weeks, build up to being able to complete the distances. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
the first 3 weeks,
Mhm.
is good build for that.
So you do, like Marilyn said. I think I agree. I think like 5 days a week is a great number to throw at. That way, it's like I'd say if you do less than 5 days, is it really the focus of your athletic endeavor, whatever we want to call it, right? Like if we say, okay, I'm going to do 3 days a week. Well, like
It's not really enough. You're
If
training
you're-
for 3
right.
sports.
That's
Right.
where I feel like I would start though. 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
Yeah, I think that's
One
you-
swim,
I
one
think
bike.
if somebody
you did
has 3
start
days
there,
a week,
didn't
they
you?
can complete this
I
try.
agree that, but
No, I'm saying
this
just-
isn't this. That's not the question we were
Right.
asked.
No, but
right. So
that's
James,
back
if
to
you
the thing.
said, okay, let's go with that as a thought experiment. You're going to start with 3 days a week.
Mhm.
What are you doing the other 4 days a week?
So weekends, I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
Just relaxing.
Mhm.
Maybe the other days I do, like let's say, some strength training or
So
something. Just regular.
to me,
circuit.
that's part of your 5 days.
okay.
So
I'm
then
just
you are training 5 days.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, swim, bike, run specifically.
hmm
Start with just one swim, one bike, one run in the first week.
I
It's
don't
not
know
gonna
if
be
you're.
enough.
I don't think it's enough. I don't think.
Got 8 weeks.
You know,
No, and especially if
Yeah, but
you've
if you're-
never
Here.
swam.
Right.
can we do the thought experiment? So instead of days, that's why I was trying to figure out hours.
It's,
So if you had 7 hours a week,
it's too much
Right?
to add.
I
could
still
you
think-
do them in
beginner-
3 days?
To give a beginner 2
No,
hours
you
in a
could not.
day. No.
That's why I think one.
Why can't you do them in 3
Because I don't
days?
think you're trained up enough to handle that load per day.
Mhm.
Now you're talking about taking a beginner and saying, okay, I want you to do the total race time every time you go out and
Yeah,
train.
no, I just want
more
people
than-
to like if they're approaching this or our PV try and they've never done, they're just going to say,
Yeah.
I'm going to do 3 days and I'm going to do,
Nope.
but I'm going to do them all.
I think
you
it'll
know,
destroy
together.
you. I think you'll get
You're gonna
injured,
hate it.
and then you're not going to enjoy it.
So spread it out.
Spread it out.
Okay.
So if you have Rich as your coach, beware.
No, I think Rich knows the answer. He's
Yeah.
just trying to get us to
Yeah,
talk
I just
about it.
I just know that there are people out there who've signed up for this try. They're like, I'm athletic, I can complete this. So what is the minimum amount of input that I need to put
Well,
into
so
this
now if-
formula?
Okay, then, but if they can complete it, so then I almost see them. You're already at week 4 of our
Right.
plan.
You just said they're athletic. So are
So
they
then-
already a runner or something?
So if they're
that-
already at week 4, where yes, they can do an 800-meter swim, they can do a 10-mile bike, and they can do a 5K, then it's almost like they're starting at week 4 and they're going from week 4 to 12 of our
I don't
plan.
know. Maybe they like play basketball 4 days a week for
Yeah.
2
Not the
hours a
same.
night, right? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're saying like, and I bike whatever once in a while, and I've done these distances, whatever. So there are people who are athletic, and they will sign up for tries just to see if they can do them.
Yep.
And so I want them to get into the frame of mind of like how many days, what is my goal, and how many days should I be doing different
Yeah, I like the idea
disciplines.
of making it. If this is your goal, then you should be working towards that goal. And I think 5 days a week is a good like kind of time commitment to be like, yes, this is a big focus of mine.
And then
Right.
you're going to see after this race, you're going to see the results. You're going to feel them. You're not going to come out fully destroyed and just said, wow, I tried to do it and I'm destroyed, but I've done it.
Yeah.
You're going to feel good that you've trained and that you've completed a good race.
Right.
So let's hear what Coach Greg, week 1, 5 days, first 5 days of training look like.
Okay, so you're going to swim 3 times a week for 20 minutes each time. Okay, so that's an hour of your training. On the back of each of those 3 swims is going to be, where are we at? With 20 minutes, I
20
said,
minutes.
is going to be 30 minutes of run walk, where you're going to start with wherever you're kind of at. And your idea is to progress or shrink your run walk interval. So you run more, walk less over the course of the next couple of weeks. But it's going to stay at that 30, maybe 40 minutes per run. So you got 3 swims, 3 runs, but done together. So those are each an hour. And then you're going to do 2 bikes. One like 30 to 45 minutes and the other the rest of the time. hour to an hour and 15. And that puts you, that's 5 days of exercise a week.
So you're like 5 hours already for the first week, 5 or 6 hours? Is that?
So those are kind of where you're going to build to. So like what you take kind of the lower end. So you're going to, I think the swim needs to be at least 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that's an hour, right? Your runs can start at, let's call it 30 minutes. So that's an hour and a half. So now you're at 2.5 hours. And then your bikes, let's call them a 45-minute bike and
Hour 15. So you had 2 hours of biking.
yeah, it could be that second bike could be even shorter. Could be another 45-minute for the first week, an hour the next week, hour 15 the third week. Yeah. So you'd kind of keep your swim and run kind of the same time, but because as you get better swimming, you're going to cover more distance. You're going to be able to take less rest at the wall. So you're going to kind of be building in the progression into the swim naturally. Same thing with the run. As you become more adept at running, your run walk is going to go down. So you're going to be, you might start off with a 1-to-1 run to walk ratio, right? So you're out of that hour and a half, you're only running 45 minutes of it, but it's still, your heart rate's still up. You're still getting the aerobic benefit. The bike is the only one where you probably need to build in an actual progression of time. And so that's where the change in time would come from for me.
I feel like bike is easy to build on time.
Yeah, I think so too. There's no impact. It'd be easy enough to do.
It sounds like a lot of time, but when you do it, it's really not.
Yeah. Now, if this is someone new to the sport, they're most likely not going to be on a trainer. So
Right.
they're either going to be doing it on the road.
But you did say
Peloton.
Or they could be.
Or
Peloton.
Peloton.
You could do, and Peloton, I think, has like workouts for
Yeah,
for
Matt
outdoor
Wilpers
cycling,
does
right?
does the actually. He's actually
Yeah.
does
So you can
the
grab a
workouts.
stationary bike at the gym.
Yep,
Or
spin bike at the
if
gym.
you have a Peloton.
Peloton at home.
I
You need a
almost think that-
Peloton? You want to buy a Peloton? I have
You
one.
got one? It's a $2,000 clothes hanger at your house.
I almost think people sign up and they actually do most of their training sometimes on like those stationary bikes in the gym. They train in the gym.
And I know
for
people that train on that do cycle workouts at the gym.
Like a spin workout.
Yeah, spin. That's what I meant.
Yeah, if you go to like Cycle Bar or
Yeah,
Soul
yeah.
Cycle. Or,
Mhm. Mhm.
To me, though, that just sounds like so much training. Like if you're just completely new
Because
to the
you
sport.
didn't. Because that's not the way you did
But
it.
what if
Yeah.
I said do it all easy?
Yeah.
Like do it where you're just enjoying yourself. You do it at a pace where you can keep a smile on your face the whole time.
I think that's a good thing to know
Mhm.
because I don't think when you're new to the sport and you're just used to like
Yeah.
working out, you feel like every workout has to be
Yeah.
hard. So
Yeah.
then you're gonna approach it this way.
Right. So
So-
like when you're going on your runs, you run and smile. And the second you stop smiling, take a walk break.
Mhm.
Oh, I'd be walking all the time.
and for some people that might be okay. For some people it might be a good brisk walk. And you could, if you want to go for a hike, go hike for 30 minutes. Go
Take
hike
a
for 45
hike.
minutes. Like that's fine.
Now on the flip side, though, if someone was doing this and they were just generally kind of working hard,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I feel like the 3 a week could be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Might not be the
But
best
they
way
don't
to do
need
it,
to. But that's yeah.
but it's just
Mhm.
time. Like to go from
Nothing.
I don't know. Let's say they're doing Peloton 3 times a week or something.
Mm-hmm.
At that hour a clip. And
Now they're
then-
going to 5. It's not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're asking me for what I would prescribe to a person who came
Yeah.
to me and said, do this.
And I'm saying what I would do.
I'm telling you what it is. He didn't do it that way.
So this, yeah.
Plus, we already kind of gave him the athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying it can be done reasonably.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just gonna say,
But you didn't do it. You started that way, but you ended up training for longer before your race.
Say what? Oh, you mean like
Yeah,
getting
you
ready
didn't
for it?
do 3 days a week and then do a race 8 weeks later.
That's true.
And when you're saying 3 days a week, you're saying you did the 3 sports 3 days a week.
Right. And
The-
then
you did stuff the
you
other
did CrossFit
2 or 3
or-
days a week. You were getting some aerobic conditioning. You were getting
Mhm.
some muscular endurance. Like you were getting training benefits, even if it wasn't directly applicable to your race.
tissue
Mhm.
resilience.
Yes. So much tissue resiliency back then. Fine. All right.
Fine.
We're starting off at 5 hours a week
5
minimum. Two bikes, 2 runs, 2 swims.
Nope. 2 bikes, 3 swims, 3 runs.
He's trying to dial it back.
I know.
Same thing.
But I feel like I'm putting
Same thing. Did you hear that?
I feel like I'm putting reasonable constraint. Like it's still, if you look at, I'm only asking you to go over 1 hour of training
Yes.
Right.
once a week eventually. At the start, I'm asking you to do everything. You can get a swim and a run on a treadmill in an hour at a gym, right? 20-minute swim, 30-minute run, change in between. You're out of there in an hour. Like, I don't think if you're doing
Smile on your face. Go
smile
home.
on your face the whole time. If you're doing your hour-long Peloton workout, like, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
Or an hour-long workout at CrossFit.
Right.
That
Yeah,
crushes
that was
you.
like 14
But-
minutes.
What?
You're
No,
there
it
for like an
wasn't.
hour, but the
Right.
workout, I mean, 14 minutes is a long CrossFit workout. You just like 7.
Yeah, but you
There's
suffer
a warm up. There's a
tremendously.
cool, right? No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the workout, like the meat of it is fast. 20
like we're
minutes
going
is
off
like
the
and
rails.
fast
Yeah.
and painful.
Yeah.
I think this person's never going to be ready.
So week 2 now. I mean, we agree on week 1
No,
now.
I just told you week
He
1
just-
through
well,
4.
yeah,
Oh, that
he
was
just
week
did
1
walk-
through 4.
yeah,
I thought
he
that was
did
just week
build-
1.
If
No,
we're
I
only
told
at-
you the swim is going to self-progress. As
I
you
see,
get
I
better
see.
in
So
the
you're-
swimming, you're going to swim more with less rest. You're going to have to stop at the wall and catch your breath less, right?
Okay.
That takes 3 weeks. As you improve, you're going to swim more naturally. Still keep it at 20, maybe 30 minutes. And that's for weeks 5 through 8, right? The run is going to stay at that about 30 minutes of run total time, but you're going to progress over the course of 3 or 4 weeks. Your run walk interval is going to change. So you're going to run more, walk less.
And-
Still the same total time.
End of week 3, maybe 4, I don't know, beginning of week
Yeah.
5, are you going to have them do a swim, bike, run for some duration, or are you going to
A
keep
brick.
that off the 8-week
I
plan?
mean, a brick.
I don't know, like a total, like a 3
You're going to have
race,
like
a mini.
event.
No.
I don't,
I
know
don't
if
think
you need
so.
to.
I don't think so. I think that kind of, especially if we're pretending this is the person's first triathlon.
That's what we're pretending.
Yeah,
Okay,
they don't
then
need to.
then I don't think so. Yeah, you keep it fun. Like keep that that's like the carrot at the end. Like yes, I get to do all 3 of them on the same
Right.
day.
Hmm.
All right. So your progression is very elegant, actually.
And simple.
Um,
Your headphones are down?
No, I need them down.
Oh, sorry.
You guys are so
oh,
loud
yeah,
in my
you're
head.
way high.
Jeez.
that better?
Oh, thank you.
How come it took you 49 minutes to tell us?
Because yeah,
Is that
this
good
is
now?
so much better.
Oh
oh my
Thank you.
gosh.
I'm just
My
reading.
God.
I'm just reading her hat and just following that.
What
Good
does it say?
Good
Vibes.
vibes.
Good vibes.
Ireland has the best hats.
Yeah.
And shoes.
It's
Thank
true.
you. Thank you.
Do they match? They probably do.
Actually, no. My shoes are pink.
Mm.
White. and pink.
So they do match.
No, there's no pink in the hat.
So yeah, this is a very elegant plan. It
And
like
simple.
self-regulates.
Mhm.
That's weeks 1 through 8,
Now let's call that weeks 1 through 4.
1 through 4. All right. So now what happens 4 to 8?
Is there a taper week?
Maybe a cutback.
Yeah, maybe you cut back a little bit on the week before the race.
Oh, so yes.
Oh, not even at week 4.
Oh, do you need like a recovery week? You
Yeah,
mean?
a recovery week. Week 4.
Ooh.
Yes.
You say yes?
I say
That was a
yes.
delicious ooh. This drink is yummy.
I say yes.
I say
Active recovery, not like
just cut back a
But
little.
you've been smiling the whole time.
I know. It's
And
really
that's
easy.
exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say. If you've been following the way I told you to do it and you've been smiling the whole time, I don't think you need a recovery week.
I like that. Okay.
Right?
This plan got even more elegant.
Self-regulated recovery.
Yes. So if you did it
You
right.
feel crappy, walk instead of run
yeah.
because you can't run with a smile.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with no. I am
Okay.
going to say the week before you rest a little bit to get fresh.
All right. So let's go through. Okay. So week 1 through 4,
So what do I
self-regulate. Now
so what do I
5,
have?
6, 7.
5, 6, 7? I have 3 weeks. Okay. You're going to progressively increase the time. You're going to try and make your runs. So week 5, 1 run's going to be, you got 3 runs that are 30 minutes. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now you're going to have week 5, 1 run's going to be 40 minutes. Week 6, 2 runs are going to be 40 minutes. Week 7, all 3 runs will be 40 minutes. So we add 10 minutes each week to your run. Same run walk that you've been doing. Like if you can improve it, great. If not, fine. We're going to try the swim. The swim, I want you to get to, if you can't do the 800 what is it, 750 in 20 minutes, then you're going to get to the point where you can do the 750 every workout. So same kind of thing as the run. So if it takes you 25 minutes to do 750, week 5, you're going to do a 750 one of those days. Week 6, you're going to do a 750 2 of those days. Week 3, you're going to do a 750 3 of those days. And the bike, I think you can cap at hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And then to add kind of a fun thing to it, I'm going to say on the week 5, you can pick one of the sports and go hard, whatever hard means to you. The next week, a different one of the things you go hard. And the third week, you do a hard, if you did a hard swim, hard bike on weeks 5 and 6, then week 7, you get to do a hard, whatever. I can't even remember what I said.
And no
good
bike
plan.
run?
Good plan.
There's got to be some bricks in there.
Yeah.
Why?
Because that feeling when you get off the bike and you got to run is
You could do it, I guess. I'm just trying to keep it in
simple,
but I mean,
just like a
beneficial.
quick-
Are you
Yeah.
still smiling on all your workouts?
Not if
No,
you're doing
he
the hard
said you
ones.
weren't listening.
I said when you're hard, when you don't have to smile,
Mm-hmm.
you can just go do whatever you want.
But everything else got to smile.
I think so.
Okay.
You're building an aerobic engine over 8 weeks. Like
Gotcha.
it needs to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go too hard, you're not going to be able to keep up with the 5-day-a-week plan.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get too tired. You're going to get injured. You're going to get sick. Whatever. Like then you're going to derail. With 8 weeks, there's no room for an oops. With
Mhm.
8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm not going to fight you on weeks 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Now, what does week 8 taper look like?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what it looks like.
Ice
Okay.
cream?
It's Twizzlers and Oreos. I don't know.
I think
Oh, God.
you need to get your run done earlier in the week. That's the
Mhm.
most damaging to your body. So a
Mhm.
shortened run.
Yep.
Maybe that Monday, Tuesday, assuming your race is a Saturday.
Mhm.
And then the bike, maybe that Wednesday, Thursday, and then a swim. Short. So all these are shortened sessions, and a swim that Thursday or Friday, depending on if your race is Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
And then you go into the race.
I think that's good. Keep it nice and easy.
We agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds
fine
great.
with that.
Mhm.
8-week plan.
Yeah.
Boom.
You heard it here first.
Now, if we had made this podcast a month
4
ago,
A
weeks.
month ago, it would have been perfect.
it would be useful.
So if
4
your
weeks.
try is in 3 weeks,
Well, I mean, honestly, if you only have 4 weeks, I think I don't know. I think ooh. Okay,
You
so
can't
I'm
start
gonna,
at week
I'm going to
4.
pose that question, you guys. If your race is in 4 weeks, where do you start? Do you start at week 1 and only get to week 4, or do you start at week 4 and
It depends where you're starting from.
yeah?
I think you've told me. How did you word this?
I don't know.
Like you,
I don't know half the things I say sometimes.
I think you basically have told me like you just have to
You just
get
need
to what
someone
you
to
can get up
record
to.
you.
Like you can't force where you need to get to if you don't have enough time. Like
Right,
if
you-
you have
you
to get
need
to a
to-
certain duration, like you just have to build up to as much as you can, and
Yeah.
then
It is
That's
what
it,
it is.
yeah.
It depends where you're starting from. That's
Yeah.
a hard question.
that doesn't look like it's going to hold.
if it's if it's
No,
a
it
choice,
doesn't.
I would start with the week 1 through 4 rather than
If
5.
you've
Yeah.
if you didn't run before, for
If I had to
sure.
pick like gun to my, I would start with the 1 through
Yeah.
4 because less chance of you
Yeah.
sucking it at the race.
I'm
and
going
like,
to say the only time I'd say do 4 through 8 is if
you've done 1 through 4.
no, if you can complete all 3 distances without
Mhm.
any kind of like, if I said to you tomorrow, go run a 5K and you're like, cool, yeah, no problem. Then, and same thing for the swim and the bike, then I think you can start at week 4. Because the way I looked at it was 1 through 4 was building you up to completing the distances.
Yeah.
And
5
maybe
through
you
8.
could start one of the events on week 4,
Sure.
but you have to start the others
Yeah.
at week 1.
Exactly.
It
Mm.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
all
Good
the
point.
same.
That
Very good
was
point.
Rich's idea was the person is average across
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
3. If there's a discrepancy between them, then
Well, we have to
sure.
give some kind of constraints. It's the only
100%.
way to build a.
Mhm.
And not be here all night.
All right, so now we know how to train for it. Now, how do we actually race and execute a sprint?
Watch the transition video.
Number 1, step 1. Yeah, it's on our
Watch
YouTube.
Rich's
Watch
transition
the-
video.
Tire changing clinic.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, I mean, a flat tire in a sprint is pretty
It's
devastating.
pretty, yeah.
That's okay. You get one, you change your tire, you keep going. It's
Now,
fine.
what are the rules in triathlon? Like, if you get a flat on the bike course, and let's say you could see the finish line, do you have to ride the bike across, or can you carry it and walk
Can't
across with the
carry
bike?
it.
You get a
Can't
flat
carry it?
at
I don't
the
think you can carry it. I
finish
think you
line?
Like,
can
let's say
walk it.
let's say you see the
Like
finish line.
right before.
You mean
oh.
T2?
No, he's saying like right
get a
before you
flat-
get to the finish line.
Like
You're
You're on
like
the bike
100 feet away from the finish
you
line.
can see
Can
the
you
finish line.
walk-
Can you just carry your bike across?
Oh,
I don't know.
I think so.
carry it like full shoulder carry?
Why? Why not?
I thought
I don't know.
you had to make progress with the bike.
You are. It's just on your shoulder. It's just on your shoulder.
Okay.
Right? The dismount line isn't you must dismount here. It's
Oh, you
you
could-
must dismount before this. It doesn't say how far before it is an acceptable amount, right?
So yeah, someone.
We should ask the race director.
or
Yeah.
someone.
I
Someone
know.
let us know.
Race tractor?
I'm going to say yes, you can run.
Yeah.
Is that, will,
'Cause there's
that,
no-
will that be allowed?
There's no advantage to doing that.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's 100%
If you don't-
allowed.
just like the pool, if in the swim, if you can't swim, you need to walk. You can walk it. The
Yeah.
bike,
Right,
if you don't know how to ride a
right,
bike,
right.
then just carry the bike the
Carry
whole
your
course.
bike. Oh, you imagine how terrible that would be.
Depends on how
Depends
heavy
on the
your
bike.
bike is.
Yeah, it
No, it
depends on
doesn't.
the bike.
It
What
would
if
be
you're just
terrible,
what if you're a really
period.
good runner?
You'd have to be a
Wait,
terrible
what's
cyclist.
terrible?
You'd have to be a terrible cyclist to be faster running with your bike than riding it.
Yeah.
Be
Well,
horrible.
I have
Yeah,
to
what are the
say,
chances?
John ran one of my first rides with you guys. We were on, I think it was Prospect, and something happened with the clips on his shoes. And he ran up Prospect with his bike
Yeah.
behind me. It was like a Clydesdale coming up behind me.
You heard like
up
the
hill.
clippity clap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
John's got to comment
Yeah.
on that.
I
Let us
think,
know what that
I
was.
think he passed me.
To be young.
hmm Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I mean, if you have flatness near the finish line, then just walk the bike.
So I'm gonna keep. Yeah, I think so. Well, run, but
hmm
So you were asking for how should you race it?
How do you race it?
Are we assuming this person did my 8-week
They
plan?
did the 8-week plan to T. Like,
Then I'm gonna continue my idea, and you should race with a smile on your face the whole way. And that's it.
for your first race. This is if
This
it's
is your first race. Yep. Race with a smile.
You've done
Yeah.
the preparation.
hmm
You can do the distance.
Yep.
Now just make it another
Yep.
training day.
Smile.
Have fun.
Wave and say something nice to everybody who either passes you or you pass,
Mhm.
and give a high five to everybody on the run course.
All right, let's go now 2 more scenarios.
Does anybody wait? That's just my answer. Anybody else have an answer?
Oh, that's a good answer.
It's a good answer. It goes back to
He's
that
like,
person.
I just fucking hate it.
I like it.
He's like, I never smile.
I think
when
if
I'm
there's a
racing."
person who says, "Okay, I want a training plan, but then I want to see how I do on the race,"
Uh-huh.
I might change the last couple of like weeks 5 through 8 and how they
Well, let's
race.
hear about it. we
Like-
should have brought this
like-
up before,
yeah,
man.
like,
Don't
you mean make
just
it-
like
They want to
Yeah.
be competitive.
don't let me pass it
I'm
off.
not saying
as-
but even if
gospel.
they're trying to see some limits for themselves.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So like they've done other events, maybe not never a try, but they've done other stuff and they want to see some stuff. So I would sprinkle in some harder efforts more in those weeks. So same plan, same times, but
Yeah.
I would start sprinkling in, some zone 3s and 4s and
Okay.
and high up there just
So-
to make them understand what it's like to do a little bit of suffering and do some negative splits on some.
So do me a
training
favor and
things.
explain to somebody new to the sport, what is zone 3, what is zone 4? Like,
So new
we
to the
can-
sport, easiest thing to explain is if you're in zone 1, it's like not even exercising. It's almost as if you're on the couch. Conversation's really flowing. Conversation is the base. I'm not using gadgets, all right? So in zone 2, also you can continue to do this effort for a very, very long time and you can have an easy conversation. Zone 3 is where you are still putting words together, but you're having a harder time putting in a full sentence without stopping for a breath or just taking a moment to collect yourself. And so you can't do this effort forever, but you could do it for some amount of time. And then anything above that is you're having a hard time responding to questions or having a full-on
Like
conversation.
one
in
word
your-
answers are
Yeah.
zone
Yeah,
4 and
a
5.
zone
Mhm.
4.
it's a great way to explain it. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
So for those kind of like, that's where I was going for that.
Okay,
So I would have
cool.
them start experimenting with that and saying, okay, based on how you feel for those, and obviously checking in with the person, each one of those weeks to say, okay, this is going to be some of your efforts during the race.
Mhm.
I mean, there's going to be some time smiling, sure. And there's going to be some time where I want you to see how you're doing at that particular point in the race and see if you can push it into a position where you're no longer comfortably talking and smiling at everybody.
So you're racing now, is what
We're
you're
racing.
saying.
Yeah.
Racing versus finishing. They're
Mhm.
two different things.
Yeah. I definitely gave my idea. That's good. Like, because I gave my ideas with
some
just
people-
completing
Mm-hmm.
as the goal.
'Cause I don't think Marilyn would do just the finishing.
You read my mind. Like, I don't think even my first 5K, I think it was a 5K or 10K. I don't think I did it just to finish. Like, I already knew I could
Wasn't
finish.
smiling?
No.
Right.
And because I knew I could complete the distance. So I wanted like bigger goal.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's really all about your goal.
Mm-hmm.
But
'Cause-
either person, though, it's still their first like 5K
Right.
like, competition or first
But you could still
sprint
have
triathlon.
you could still have.
I'm throwing
that
this
kind of
out
a
there,
goal.
but like, let's say you're doing like a local race and you're a young college person. You don't have a lot of people in your division. You're like, well, maybe I can take a podium spot. Like, even if I don't have the best bike or whatever, like, what if I suffer out there for the
Mhm.
entire time? Maybe I do finish with a podium.
It doesn't even have to be for a podium. It just has to be like, let me see,
Find my limit.
Yeah, exactly. How fast can I really do this?
And that was what I was posing at the two other scenarios. But now I think about it, I think one of the scenarios is the same as what your scenario, just to finish. Because I was going to say, what if one person is just not prepared, didn't do the plan,
Yeah.
started at week 1, 4 weeks late? I was going to say, well, how does that person race? And
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Just
well,
finish.
they probably need to
Smile.
follow,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
race with a smile.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My other scenario is someone who wants to really just push it and get the absolute best time possible. How do they approach race day?
Best time possible. You are going to, if you've done the last 4 weeks in that zone 3-4, where you know what it's
Yeah.
like to be uncomfortable, right? Understand for yourself that you're still out there. I'm going to use the number hour and a half. So if you're an hour and a half at that uncomfortable, could you do it? And so know that when you play with that, it's a little bit of a switch. So like, you're either going to be able to do it for an hour and a half, your body's going to be able to handle it depending on your level of prep and athleticism, or at some point you're just not. The switch is going to go off and you're going to back off and you're going to finish the race.
I would say that it's important to let people know that you can't push each event to the very limit, because
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
So is
you-
the
I
swim
don't think you-
short enough that even if you went all out, you wouldn't blow up your entire race?
depends on the person. If someone who's a beginner who's only trained for 4 weeks, I think if they try and push to the limit on all three, they're going to blow up.
But let's just say swim. Let's just start with the swim. Like,
I
it's
think a pro can push all three to the limit.
We're not talking about a pro.
I know, but that's one end of the spectrum, right? So the pro is able to push that. You're not a pro, so don't push all your 3 events to the zone 3-4.
Do we want the smart answer? Like how like you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it should be a build.
Mhm.
Like the swim should be the easiest of the 3.
Okay.
And then the bike, if you want to push,
A
should be a
little
little
bit.
harder. And then the run, like
Right. That's where you lay
Yeah.
it all out.
And
I-
that's what I was going to ask next. Can you blow up on the bike that you run, go so hard? Can you overbike on a sprint?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So we've established that.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
can
without a doubt.
over
You
swim
can do
on the
over
swim.
swim.
I think you can
Yeah,
over
you can
swim
over.
enough.
That's why I'm saying, like, they need to know, like, yeah, it's okay. You can. That's cool. Do that, but
Yeah.
you gotta, like you said, build. You can't.
Yeah. Like one of the things I think, especially if this person is somewhat new, especially to swimming, more effort doesn't equal more speed a lot of the time. So you try real hard and don't get that much faster. And then you need to spend 3 minutes in transition, catching your breath and bringing your heart rate down. You didn't gain 3 minutes in the
Mhm.
pool. You
You
didn't swim
lost.
3 minutes faster, right?
Yeah.
You swam 15, 20 seconds faster. And then you just wasted the other
nothing.
2:45 in transition getting yourself composed.
I think that's
So-
one of the most interesting things about triathlon is that you got to control yourself throughout, because
Yeah.
you can't push red line the whole time.
Unless you're elite.
You can do
But
it.
their
They
pushing is also building,
they
right?
don't either. They don't either though. They don't push their swim to red line either.
I think they get pretty close.
I mean, that
I
PTO
don't think
stuff,
they do.
it
I
seems
don't
like
know.
it.
Well, in the shorter distance,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
I think
you're
the
right.
For sure.
sprint.
I'm
they're
thinking longer distance,
they're
maybe
close
in the
to it.
shorter.
But I like Greg's answer again. The build.
built.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
so.
Right. Like it's a crescendo.
Yeah.
And
I think you do it. You can do it. Just do it in a relay. Like you want to blow up in the swim,
Yeah, but
blow up
that's
in
not
the
what we're
swim, but
talking
do,
about.
Yeah.
do the bike, then have someone else do it.
Yeah, the relay.
I feel like
Brought
I've
back
told
memories.
you this before, and I've talked to you about it before. Like you should ask yourself at every point, like, if I go a little bit faster, can I hold that to the end?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, if the answer is yes, then cool, do it. If the answer is no, like, I don't think I can do this for another hour, you know, at the end of the swim, like, can I do this for another hour? No. Okay. Then don't do it. Like,
Mhm.
don't do it for 5 minutes. Do it. Like, you need to be okay feeling, at least talking yourself into thinking you can do it for the length of the event. So that means the closer you get to the end, then it's like, okay, we got 1 mile left. Can I go a little bit faster for a mile? Yeah. Okay, then do it. But at the beginning of the run, you're like, can I go faster for 3 miles? No. Okay, then
Back
dial it
off.
back.
It's always good to negative split.
That's
Or at
really
least
hard
try.
to do. Try. Yeah, it's really hard to actually do it, but
Yeah.
at least try.
So NJ State was the first time I negative split a run.
Nice. Good for you.
And I went into it thinking, oh, well, I first went out thinking, all right, I'm going to go
Yeah.
all out. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I should go a little easy.
Right.
And then negative split. So I stopped myself and
Yeah.
then backed off. And it wasn't that much. I think it was like 5 seconds difference between
So-
each
Yeah.
lap, but
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10. But I was like, oh, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably left you feeling better at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then-
I was actually, overall from the race.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have maybe biked a little harder. I don't know.
You had a
Right.
good race, so.
It was
Mhm.
clean,
Yeah.
which is good.
Oh, we never talked about your race, did we? No.
We didn't do a podcast. We're here
no,
now.
we're here
Yeah.
now. We got it
Yeah.
maybe at the end.
It was clean.
We
I
need
learned
to
a
Separate
talk
lot.
segment.
about your race.
Yeah.
Because it was
I
a
went
sprint.
over the highlights
it fits
already. Yeah, I already went over the highlights.
in. that was the highlight.
Yeah, negative split. I was happy with that. That's all I wanted to
Mhm.
do. Yeah, but I think we actually just hit everything.
I think so too.
That's how you do it. Build into that. So you do if you do the 8-week CT, if you just want to finish, race with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to push, build. So swim.
Yeah.
Is going to be your easiest. Bike a little bit more effort, and then run, empty the tank, but negative split it if you can.
Any mistakes? You got that on here. Don't overbike.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it. Yeah. I think that's the biggest mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you really have to worry too much about, I don't think you have to worry about nutrition, really.
No.
So if you're going to do nutrition, let's just pose the question: what are you going to do for the sprint?
I'd have some kind of nutrition in my bottle on my bike, and that's it. I'd have some kind of
probably
carbohydrate
have
mix in my
A
bottle.
gel before the swim, probably.
What would you eat the morning of?
Whatever you normally eat for breakfast.
Yeah.
High carb,
Mhm.
What
Not
would you
like-
eat the night before?
Simple.
Anything different?
something that's not going to mess with my
Simple.
stomach.
Yeah. James.
Get a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
my normal pre-race stuff. Simple, chicken and rice the night before.
Yep.
Oatmeal, bananas,
Mhm.
day of.
Yeah, I don't think you need too much. Like,
Yeah. It's not that long.
I was actually, so that was the hardest thing. I didn't know nutrition-wise what to do.
What
On
did you
race
do?
day.
Because you had asked me.
So because I had actually overbrought stuff just in case for the
Right.
Olympics. I had my torpedo full plus
Torpedo
Hold
full
on.
of
Torpedo full.
let's
Your
give
torpedo
let's give
full of
people
a-
ahead. So James
Yeah,
did New Jersey
let's talk
State
about it.
Olympic a couple weeks ago. It was or it was supposed to be an Olympic because of impending weather, right?
Yep.
They shortened
Mm-hmm.
it to a sprint.
yeah.
So
and the
you didn't find that out until morning of, right?
morning of even when we got there, they told us not to get out of our cars. They said just
Oh.
wait in the parking
Was it
lots. for the
raining?
full- It wasn't. By that point, it stopped raining. On the
Oh.
way driving down, it was pouring, lightning. I
Oh
was like,
my
I was thinking this
God.
race is not happening.
Yeah.
But we got there. They said just wait in your cars or wait in that area. They said wait in your cars at first, but everyone just got out. And they just
Yeah.
said, but they didn't want anyone to go into transition until they gave the all clear.
Mm-hmm.
I think what started happening when people went to it was packet pickup that day also. People could do it. So
Okay.
when people were picking up their packet, then words got out that it was shortened to a sprint.
Okay.
So they figured out they had a window to get a sprint in that everyone would be able to get through. So that was like that morning, like, I don't know, 5:36 a.m. We found
Okay.
out it was a sprint. So it ended up being 850 meter swim, I think. 850 meter swim, 13 bike,
Yeah, something
and
like
then
that, right?
Mhm.
a 5K run. So I had brought a full, like the front mount torpedo with, it was just going to be my nutrition and hydration. It had
Uh-huh.
the isoactive, Power Bar isoactive in there. And then I brought an extra thing, my Aero
The speed
down
fill?
tube.
Oh.
I
Oh,
didn't hit a
yeah.
speed tube for
Yeah.
even for the Olympic. I was like, I don't need a
Yeah.
speed, so I just did an aero bottle of precision hydration in there. So I just had that as extra, frozen just in case it was a hot day.
Mhm.
So, but I think just the torpedo would have been enough because I think that was supposed to be 700 milliliters in there. I think it fits.
Okay.
And so then I brought 4 or 5 gels for the run, a gel before the swim, maybe a gel at bike or something, just to have. So then when it was a sprint, I was like, I don't even know what, like, because usually my timer goes off every 15 minutes to take in hydration and nutrition.
Right.
So I was just kind of, I took a gel before the swim, and then I took a gel after the bike. I was like, this is like, or I felt like it was a lot because the swim was so short. It was like 16 minutes, and then I got on the bike, and I'm just like, I guess I'll drink. I wasn't like really thirsty.
Yeah.
You know, but I was drinking, and I think the bike ended up. I don't even know how long. I don't remember how long my bike was, but I was kind of feeling full.
Yeah.
And then on the run, I did the run. And I had, I think, 2 or 3 gels just because. I'm sorry. I just brought 1 gel with me. I don't think I drank anything at the aid station. I was just dumping water because it's getting a little hot. And then I think halfway through the run, I was like, oh, I had this gel. Like, maybe I should just eat it because just in case. Like, I didn't feel like I needed it, but I just ate it just because I was like, I think actually it fell out of my pocket once when I was trying to get at the aid station dump water. So like, instead of just holding it, I was like, I'll just eat it. And then I just did it. But I think I could have done without the gel too.
Probably.
I think just whatever was on the bike, that would have been enough to carry me through.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then
I think so.
maybe like cold water. They didn't have ice on the course, so like drinking the cold water just to cool down would have been fine. But I wasn't like thirsty or anything.
That's-
Yeah, I think it's whatever you have on the bike. I think is enough for
I
a
think
sprint.
so.
How
too.
was the water? Was it really hot?
Yeah, it was like 80.
Yeah, that
82,
lake is so
80,
warm.
84.
It's tiny. It's a tiny lake, so
It's perfect though. It's my
Yeah.
best. I think my best open water swim so
you
far.
wear the swim skin.
Yes,
You've been
did.
swimming fast lately.
I don't know. Have I? I don't know.
I feel like it.
Did you get the draft in the 850?
I did. I tried to follow as many people as I could. So the way they seeded it was by age group this time.
Oh, okay.
So it was actually very congested. I kept coming up on the groups ahead of me, which never happens usually because usually it's
'Cause
seeded
it's
by time.
Oh, right.
I'm usually the one getting overtaken, but this
Right.
time since it was by age, I kept running into people. So I'd get into a groove, and then I'd come across people, and then I'd pass them. But you know, a couple people I caught their draft, and then but then I just kept having to go around people and stuff. So it was, even the bike course was like that too, because I guess since it all went off in waves, so I was
annoying.
constantly just passing and passing. But yeah, I think my Garmin said it was like 157 per 100. So I was like, "Ooh, that's my best."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Nice.
great swim.
Yeah, and then the run, I just kept under control. The bike, I think we had to plan for 150 watts for the Olympic distance, and then I just figured, all right, it's shorter, so I try to go like 180, 190. I think I spiked maybe 200 a couple times or a little bit more, but I think I could have gone even higher,
Probably.
but I didn't want to blow up on the run.
Okay, yeah.
So run
And
went
your
good.
run was good.
Run, I even did run on for 5K. So even with a run walk run, I think my split was like 8-10, 8 low 8, and then a 750 something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
with
That's good.
with run walk run.
Yeah, it was like 24
good.
something for the 5K, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, I was doing 4.5 with 30-second. So I took at least, a couple minutes in walk breaks in that.
Yeah.
But 30 seconds is nothing. It goes so fast.
It goes really fast.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's just enough to.
Yeah.
Reset the heart
Reset.
rate.
Did you do it at the aid stations, your walks, or?
No, just
just whenever
whenever
you
it hit.
needed-
Some of the aid stations I just ran through. I would just like grab water, dump it,
Mm-hmm.
run. Because I wasn't really worried about getting anything in.
Yeah.
Was your heart rate mostly in zone 2, zone 3, or what was
Oh,
your heart
did
rate?
you-
his heart
did you
rate
see
is
my-
so weird.
Yeah, it was high.
So yeah, the swim and bike, I think I was zone 3 mostly.
Yeah.
And then the run, I was zone 5 the entire time. I
That
held
never
zone-
happens for
yeah,
you.
I was like, I looked at my file. I was like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah.
But I survived. I
You've
thought it
come
would
a
have been.
long way.
I thought it would have been like on the ground, but I don't know if it was like heat and.
Yeah.
But it was a 5K too. Like 5K, I have to just
Mhm.
go for it.
Yeah, you just got to suck it up and deal with it for 25 minutes.
And
Yeah.
zone 5 for me is like 150, I think.
Yeah.
So I was at 150 pretty much the whole run.
Yeah, it was a good race.
Mhm.
Good numbers.
It was fun.
Good result.
And then right after we finished, it started pouring.
Did it?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it came down heavy. So I wouldn't have minded the run in the
In
rain.
the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biking would have been
They're probably
pleasant,
worried about.
but lightning and thunder
Lightning
I think
and thunder.
would have been the
Yeah.
issue. But it
Yeah.
ended up not lightning. There was no
Yeah.
lightning, so
So it was just rain.
it was just rain. But I guess if you had people on the course longer, and if it was biking in that rain, it would have
Yeah.
been dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cool.
it was fun. It was actually a relief. I don't know, in some ways. I was like, oh, I don't have to do the whole distance. Hence why I asked, is anyone doing another race?
Yeah.
Because I want to get another open water swim in. Just keep like hammering
Right.
swimming
Mhm.
with people around me. I did get bump into a lot of people, but I'm telling you, the swims that we've been doing on Fridays where we stay close
Yeah.
just help.
Big help.
It doesn't bother me. Today I swam behind Rich the whole time, just stared at his feet. Got to know his feet really well, and it was like almost comforting to just look at his feet.
Look at his feet.
I was like,
Look-
come on, man, do some pulling.
No, I don't. There's no signal. Like there's
Yeah.
no arm
It's
flick.
so single, like
signaling
it's-
every time. It's just like, here's a
every
signal.
stroke.
Here's
I
a
just-
signal.
And it was pretty cool because a couple times I would lose him or something, and I was like, is he speeding up? Because I would have to really pick up the pace to get
That's
behind
'cause
his draft.
You got backed off of it.
Yeah, I was like going crooked, and he was going,
Uh-huh.
and so I would kind of be off to the side, and I'd find him, and I'd go back in, and I'd have to really fight to get back in. But once I was in there, it was just like this easy swim. And I asked Rich, like, were you like speed bursting? He's like, no. So it's like, there's definitely a huge difference.
Yeah. And
I'll-
being on the feet.
I was right on it. Like once I touched your foot by accident, I was trying to make sure I didn't, but one time I grazed his foot. I was like, oops. And
Yeah,
but-
there was a couple of times the seaweed monster snuck up on me. And stuff like that. So
but my heart rate was like 125 pretty
Yeah.
much like the entire
Which is
Nice.
pretty low for you swimming.
Yeah. So it was like super calm.
Yeah.
yeah, he was in the pocket for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. Just sat there the
That's
whole
awesome.
time. But yeah, so we're going to do the DQ event in
Yeah.
the Pine Barrens,
Mhm.
A couple months.
September 9th.
Please tell me those climbs. I didn't look at the
I haven't
elevation.
looked. Is it hilly
flat.
again?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
It's Pine Barrens. It's flat.
So it should be a fun race.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Hopefully we have good weather. I feel like by September you start getting cooler morning temperatures at least.
hmm Yeah, the morning should be cool.
So we should be okay.
So the rest of the team, if you're listening, sign up.
Yeah.
Register under Team Next Level Triathlon, not Team Next Level Performance.
Right.
We either have to join together or fight them to the
Or
death.
one
or
or
the
the
other.
other. That
I
can't be
know. That's
two.
Or anyone else listening who wants to do the race.
Yeah. Register under our
Rich,
team.
you better sign up quick
Okay.
because now thousands of people are
Yeah.
going to sign up.
It's gonna be the Team Next Level Triathlon. It's gonna be the biggest team there. But yeah, fun race. Maybe even stay in a motel before.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
About that one.
No,
It's too close.
not that motel. That's for sure.
Not that
Oh,
one.
it's too close.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have anything else to cover with how to train and race for a sprint triathlon?
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
If you need any more tips, they should post comments and ask questions and
Mhm.
Yeah,
get to them.
absolutely. Either on Facebook or social media, Instagram, any of that stuff. We've got tons of ways for you to reach us.
Yeah, we're gonna keep pumping out good content for you guys too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody for listening. That's another episode of the Quad Pod. We'll catch you next time. Thanks everyone for listening to the Next Level Quad Pod. We really appreciate you spending time with us and listening to everything that we have to offer. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review and a rating. Those little things go a long way towards us being able to bring you more content like this. If you'd like to learn more about what we have to offer, please go to our website at goteamnltry.com. There, you can find out about all the different things we provide that can help you reach your athletic potential. Thank you again for finding time in your busy schedule to spend some time with the Quad Pod.